on! Make some noise! Well, how do you make noise? Well, to know that, you gotta know your sound. All sound is vibration. Here, take a closer look. You see? You got... Okay, let's try this again. All sound is vibration. The string of this guitar vibrates, which vibrates the air around it, causing the sound that you hear. Your vocal cords vibrate in your throat, causing you to make a sound. Ah, 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 la, 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 la. Look at this thing. Look at this thing. See how it's shaking back and forth? And it's vibrating. Things that make a high sound, they vibrate faster. Vibrating really fast. Things that make a low sound vibrate slowly. High note, vibrating fast. Fast! Fast vibrating. And now you know your sound. Yeah, don't worry about Ramona. Just put them up high. Put them up, yeah, higher. Good. Hey. Grab it. Grab it. Gravity makes things fall. But where do they fall? They fall down. Oh. Towards the center of the Earth. Gravity. It fell, didn't it? So, the Earth causes gravity, right? Well, yes. Gravity. Oh, come on. Everything that has mass has gravity. Gravity. But the Earth has so much mass that the gravity produced by everything else is like nothing. I mean, forget about it. But let's say I was in space with this chicken. I would have gravity, and I could exert a gravitational force on this chicken. And if I get my angles right, I might be able to get the chicken to orbit me, like a moon. Behold, my chicken moon, huh? Gravity. But let's get serious. What causes gravity? We don't know. What we do know is that without gravity, there would be no universe as we know it. No you, no me, no chicken moon. I'd miss my chicken moon. Chicken moon, you what? Gravity. Like it or not, the universe wouldn't exist without it. You like the sign? I'll give you a good deal. Half off. So you want to generate some electricity. But what do you choose to generate that electricity? Hydro? Nuclear? Coal? Solar? Who knows? I do. I know. And soon, so will you. In order to generate electricity, you need to turn the generator. Turn the generator. One of the most common ways to turn the generator is to use one of these. It's a steam engine. Usually they're a lot bigger. You see, you heat the water to boil it and turn it to steam, which works a piston, which turns the generator. Huh? Pretty amazing, right? But what it really boils down to is heating water to make steam. Boil water to make steam to turn the generator. Coal power. Burn the coal to boil water to make steam to turn the generator. Natural gas. That's different, right? Nope. Burn the gas to boil water to make steam to turn the generator. Nuclear power. That's different, right? Nope. It creates heat, which you use to boil water to make steam to turn the generator. Wind power. We don't even need heat for that. Just use the wind to spin the fan to turn the generator. Hydropower. Just pour water across something that spins to turn the generator. No matter what, making electricity always comes down to turning the generator. It's always yada yada, yada yada, turn the generator. Except for solar. Solar does not work like that. But other than that, it's always yada yada, yada yada to turn the generator. And now you know your electricity generation. Hey, Ramona, you wanna come and give me a hand over here? My arm is getting tired. Vibration and frequency. What's the difference? They're all connected. Ta-da! Now, whoa. Vibration is things going back and forth. Back and forth, and back and forth. It's a cycle. Cycle, 25 bucks. Oh yeah, it's the wrong kind of cycle, never mind. Well, if that's vibration, then what's frequency? Well, frequency is a measure of how fast or slow, how frequent those vibrations happen. Look at this bowling ball. Look. It is swinging back and forth, but not very fast. You could say it has a low frequency. We measure all kinds of things by their frequency. This thing is terrifying. When you turn the dial on your radio, you're tuning in to different frequencies of radio waves. Hey, look at this punching balloon. It's going very fast. You could say it has a high frequency. So, now you know. Vibration is something going back and forth, and frequency is how quickly it does it. Ramona, the bowling ball keeps coming through everything. How do you turn it off? Oh, hey, how you doing? Shut the door, it's cold out there. Cold enough for you, huh? Well, that's nothing. Let me tell you. You know what temperature water freezes at? Yeah, 0 degrees Celsius. But even that is nothing. Let's say it's winter in Winnipeg. It could get down to -20, maybe even -40. But even that's nothing. Liquid nitrogen, -196 degrees Celsius. But even that's nothing. The vacuum of space, -271 degrees Celsius. But even that's nothing. So, what's the coldest temperature? What's the coldest temperature you can have? It's called absolute zero, -273.15 degrees Celsius. At that temperature, all the little wiggling that particles do comes to a stop. Everything is frozen. No more movement, no more energy. Everything stops. It doesn't get any colder than that. Absolute zero is the ultimate nothing. Brr, time to get your mittens on. Oh, hey, how you doing? You want to buy something? I got a lot of stuff here, and I got a special today only. Potential energy. Huh? I will throw in some potential energy with any order. You see this stuff on the shelves here? The stuff on the higher shelves has more potential energy than the stuff on the lower shelves. Don't believe me? Here, hold on. Look at this state-of-the-art traffic controller. Right now, it's sitting up here on this high shelf. Now, if it were to fall, it would be going fast, which means it would have a lot of kinetic energy. You see, when it fell down, it had enough kinetic energy to completely break itself apart. Yeah, well, that's the difference between potential energy and kinetic energy. Look at this bagel, just sitting here, not moving, minding its own business on top of this ramp. It's all potential energy and no kinetic energy. And when it gets to the floor, it's all kinetic energy and no potential energy. Woo-hoo!
boom. And now it has neither because it's on the floor and it's not moving. 5-second rule.
And now you know your energy. So what do you say? You want this thing? Tell you what, I'll give you a discount because you know it's gently used. Hey, I'll even throw in this bagel, huh? Also gently used. Little to the left, Ramona. Okay, now that's too far left. I don't know what you think. Oh, hey, I don't suppose you're going on vacation anytime soon. Well, if you haven't decided where, may I suggest underwater. But don't forget to pack the most important thing when you go. Hat? Nah. Ukulele? Nah, forget about it. Rubber chicken? No. Sunscreen? Forget about it. Teddy? No, if you're going underwater, the most important thing you gotta pack is air. You see, human beings have been coming up with ways to go underwater for a long time, but the thing is, you gotta bring air with you because, you know, breathing is good. Check this out. It's a diving bell. One of the first ways humans used to be able to take air with them when they went underwater. You see, it's a big, heavy bell, and it's lowered from a ship above on a rope. And when it gets lowered into the water, it traps a bubble of air underneath. So you can swim around underwater, but then when you need to breathe again, you don't have to go all the way back up. You just pop under the bell and take another breath. Bells like this were actually much bigger when they used to use them for diving to hold more air, huh? Ring-a-ding-ding. What do you think? You want this? No? It's okay, I got something else. Hold on. Check this out. It's an old-timey diving suit. Air is pumped in through these hoses here, which means the diver has a constant supply of air, which means he can stay underwater longer. What do you think? No? Okay, hold on, I got something else. Yeah. This is it, the ultimate in bringing air with you. The scuba suit. This tank holds compressed air, which means it can carry a lot of air with you, which means you can stay underwater for longer. So I'll tell you what, I'll wrap up all three things. What do you say? Yeah? You'll take them? Okay, great. Let me just wrap them up for you. Come on, Teddy, let's go find the bag. So, you would like to move electricity from here to there. Well, what you need, my friend, is a conductor. All right, a little more arpeggio this time. No, not that kind of conductor. All aboard? No, not that kind of conductor either. This kind of conductor. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, hey, that's just a piece of metal. Well, that's right. That's because you're smart. This is a circuit. Electricity flows from this battery along the wires and into the light bulb. But Sal, you cleverly observe, the light bulb is not lit. This is true. That is because we have a gap in the circuit. And air is not a good conductor of electricity. Is metal a good conductor of electricity? Let us find out. Metal is a good conductor of electricity. What about wood? Nope. What about this horseshoe? Is a good conductor. Will this sandwich conduct electricity? Nope. No. What about this plastic fish? Nope. What about this pickle? No, pickle is not a good conductor. That's why we make electrical wires out of copper and not pickles. You know, in case you were wondering. Oh, hey, how you doing? Let me guess, you want to build a strong structure, something that'll stand the test of time. Well, you know, you gotta use the right kind of shapes. Look at this, a square.
Now, squares have got to be strong, right? Well, maybe. Maybe if you press straight down on it, but watch as I push to the side. Oh no! The thing that I have built is now collapsing because squares aren't in fact strong after all. If only I had listened to Sal's sage advice. Yeah, squares aren't gonna cut it. Fortunately, there's a shape that's strong in all kinds of ways. A triangle. Okay, so you heard of triangles before, good for you. But look at this. You can push down from the top and it doesn't move, or you can push from the side and it doesn't move. Triangles are awfully pointy. How do I build with them? Observe! Ha-ha! Triangle here, triangle there, platform on top. And watch. No matter how I try to shift it, it stays solid. And check this out. Triangle here, second triangle there, and a third triangle shape here. That's like 3 triangles for the price of 2, huh? That's a good deal. So there you have it. The triangle, one of the greatest shapes to build with. Oh, hey, good to see you. Speaking of seeing things, let's talk about the rainbow. All the colors of the spectrum organized in a beautiful pattern. But what are the different colors? I mean, what makes them different? Well, it all has to do with the electromagnetic spectrum. This is visible light. All the colors of the rainbow. And take a look at that little black line that goes up and down there. That's the frequency of the light. Light is a wave. You see the wavelength is a little wider out here on the red side, and it's a little closer together here on the violet side? That's because every color of light has a different length of wave or wavelength. And that is what makes them different when we look at them. But if you think that's all there is to the electromagnetic spectrum, then you're mistaken. So what happens over here on the red side? Does it keep going? Yeah, it does. What? Look, we got infrared here, and then we got microwaves. These are the same kind of waves you use in your oven. And then we got radio waves, which are the same kind of waves you use in your radio. They're all part of the same thing as visible light, huh? Let's take a look at the other end. Remember these short wavelengths over here beside violet? Well, does that keep going? Yeah, if they keep getting shorter, you get ultraviolet, and then X-rays, and then gamma rays, huh? Pretty amazing. And look, it's all connected. From radio waves to gamma rays to visible light in between, it's all frequencies of electromagnetic radiation. How is this staying up? So everything outside of the visible spectrum is invisible, right? Wrong! Ha-ha! Bam! Huh? That is an X-ray, a picture we can take using this part of the spectrum. We can use special cameras to see outside of the visible spectrum. Huh? Huh? Right? Yeah. Okay, you got it. Huh? And look at these. These are night vision goggles. They help you see in the dark. They use part of the spectrum called infrared. For those of you keeping score, that's this part of the spectrum right here. Pretty neat, right? I would sell you these, but they're already spoken for. Oh, and here he comes now. Hey, Sal. Hey, how you doing?
You got those goggles I ordered?
Yeah, go ahead, help yourself.
Thanks for putting them aside. Can I put them on my tab?
Yeah, no problem.
All right, thanks, Sal.
Okay, see you later. Nice kid. He's always in a rush, though. Yeah!
My name is Phil, and I take your everyday science experiments and do them big. This is Science Max, experiments at large.